It is. Leading is just exhausting in that context, but I think you can do it if, what's the saying? The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And what I know I want to do is I want people to have a really, really wonderful experience of walking from point A to point B. And I want them to be successful. I want them to make it to the top so that they have that life moment and that sense of achievement. And I want them not to have to worry about it along the way. So I'm trying to take all the worry out of it. Live in this moment. Embrace it. Because I, in general, I guarantee you don't want to come back and do this. You're just going to do this once. So we're going to make it count.
Hi, I'm Chris LeBrun, your host of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. As someone who's never been afraid of dreaming big and going for it all, I often find myself with a lot on my plate. I'm a husband and father, a nonprofit fundraiser, and an entrepreneur. What I've realized is my view of productivity was pretty toxic. After decades of believing that in order to do more, you had to work harder, I began to see productivity as this beautiful thing. Holistic productivity is the idea that you can accomplish your professional, personal, and purpose-driven goals in a healthy way, and doing so will make you happier and more fulfilled. Join me each week as we break down myths about productivity, share practical tips for maximizing your time, energy, and focus, and hear from others about their productivity journey. This is the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here for this episode of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast. My name is Chris LeBrun. It's great to have you here. I'm a productivity coach. I'm your host of the podcast. And I just want to say, I think that this is a very important moment that we are in together. Not because you're listening to me or that you're even going to hear from our fantastic guest today. It's an important moment because you are taking action. Just by listening to this podcast, you are taking action to achieve your dreams, to achieve your goals. And I'm just so glad that you are doing that. That's why I'm here. If you've listened to the podcast before or watched it on YouTube, you know that the reason that I do this is to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. And I hope that you continue to take action towards your goals after this podcast is over. I mentioned that we have a guest today, and I'm so excited for this conversation. We have been friends for a long, long time, but it's been a minute since I've seen him. So we had a great time kind of before the show, just catching up a little bit. But my guest today is no stranger to overcoming challenges, achieving big goals, and living a life full of adventure. Bernie Anderson is a marathon runner. He's a mountain climber. He's a nonprofit leader who is making a difference in the world through his role at World Vision USA. As World Vision's director for church engagement on the East Coast, Bernie is harnessing the power of church congregations to strengthen communities in developing countries around the world. It's a fantastic work, and I'm excited to hear all of the things that are happening. As an avid runner, Bernie has completed several major marathons around the world. He often runs as part of Team World Vision, raising tens of thousands of dollars for World Vision projects as he competes. He is currently raising $25,000 for a clean water project with World Vision in conjunction with his run in the 2026 London Marathon. And we will have a link in the show notes if you want to donate, and I encourage you to do that. Bernie also operates Higher Ground Treks, which leads groups on African safaris along the Inca Trail in Peru and up Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. Someday I will be on that trek with him. We've talked about that way too long. It's going to happen. To date, he has a 100% success rate. You better keep that up when I get on the team. And getting his teams to the summit and coming back down. That's important. But every day, Bernie faces challenges that might make marathons and mountain climbing look easy. In 2007, Bernie wrote Breaking the Silence, a book about his battle with pornography and sexual addiction and how God was able to transform his life. This might seem like a difficult secret for anyone to reveal to the world. However, it is more challenging when you're a pastor serving full-time in ministry. Bernie's story is one of hope and renewal, and it inspires us to refuse to be defined by the darkest parts of our life so that we can live a life of impact, adventure, and achievement. Bernie, thank you so much for being here. It is good to see you, my friend. It's good to talk to you. I'm excited about this conversation that we're going to have.
Oh, thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, man, it's so funny. I know that you guys lived here in Florida for a minute, and in fact, we were here for a brief time at the same time, and I think we saw each other in passing from time to time, and
right.
that was about it.
Crazy that life gets so busy that I work like half a mile from you,
right,
practically on the same campus, and we never saw each other. So now, to be fair, I lived on the other side of the state and did the huge commute. But
right.
Yeah,
no, it's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. But never intentionally. Always just kind of, hey, life is kind of going, and we never get to kind of cross those paths the way we probably would like to, but have great memories of being on campus together and school together, and always a good friend and someone I didn't mind spending some time with when we were in school. So yeah, good to be with you.
We went to college together, and again, the beauty of social media is we've been able to keep up since then, because it's been a minute since college.
Since college, yeah.
We
don't need to talk about that.
No, we won't count the minutes or the days or the years. No, but there are some positives to social media, and certainly staying connected and seeing all your adventures has been fantastic. Let me dive back though, because you did not start in the nonprofit space in the same way that you are now. So you started as a pastor. And some might say it's an interesting route to come into your current role. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you made that transition, and then what your role with World Vision certainly is?
Sure, yeah. So I was, I sensed like being drawn or called, if you will, is what we say in ministry, to being a pastor at a very young age. I was like 15 years old, and I was like, I felt God saying, hey, you're going to be a preacher and a pastor. So I pursued that. It was very authentic and very real. And the pathway to that was, getting the right degree in school and doing all the right things, being involved in a Christian university, being involved in leading out spiritually whenever the opportunity came. And so that was my path. And so, it is nonprofit work. It's just, it's in the church, in the religious space. Right. And it's, in general, you're not considered necessarily an executive, or you're not making a lot of money as a pastor. It's it's a calling to serve people and to love and give guidance and to spiritually direct folks. So that's I felt very comfortable in that, and wanted to serve and love and give people, help people explore their own personal spiritual development and inspire them towards that, and then lead a community of faith. And that was, I sensed, or I thought that would be what I would do with the rest of my life, and felt very comfortable with that. So for 23, almost 24 years, that's where I was. Along the way, though, I was very intentional about experiencing as many things adjacent to, if you will, or right alongside of pastoral ministry. So whatever I could kind of get my hands into or venture off into, whether it be other nonprofit space, or, fundraising, or any learning I could do along the way. I was very intentional about that. Primarily, I guess the word would be networking. I felt like having as many relationships as possible would be really, really important, just so that I could learn and grow and just evolve, professionally as a person, but just in ministry, in a nonprofit setting. Churches are nonprofit organizations essentially. it's all about the relationships that you can cultivate and nurture. And,
Mhm.
and those relationships can be helpful. Like if you're trying to accomplish something in the community, if you need,
Yeah.
if you need resources or access to something. So I was always showing up in different spaces, making lots of great relationships. And one of those relationships was with a large Christian humanitarian organization, and that was World Vision. And now for their, on their part, they want to partner with local churches. So I was a pastor leading a local church. There's a mutual interest, right? They want to know about me. I kind of want to know about them too.
Right.
And I did see them. I saw them doing great work and felt like it would be important for me to be involved in that work. And the work was serving or helping to bring essential resources to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. And that first initial engagement with World Vision as a pastor was to have my youth group do what they call the 30-hour famine. And basically these kids would my youth group would go without food for 30 hours. And then we'd totally, gorge ourselves on pizza at the end of the fast. So I don't know how helpful it totally was, but they enjoyed the experience, right? They really enjoyed the pizza afterwards. But I thought, that was such a cool engagement, and to begin to sort of awaken my own kids who were part of that same youth group, and just the youth that were in my church, just to sort of stir up in them and awaken in them the reality of the fact that not everyone lives in the US of A and and they don't have access to the stuff that we have access to. So that was really helpful. And there was fundraising involved there. So each kid was trying to raise dollars for every hour that they were going without food. And so it just got me exposed to World Vision. And fast forward, I kind of got to a point in my pastoral ministry journey where I was saying, God, if there's something else that I could do that's still in the ministry space, but may not be leading a congregation, I'd actually be very interested in that. And I happen to know this organization called World Vision. So if you happen to know somebody over there that I could connect with, I mean, it was just very,
very directed prayer.
Yeah, it's very directed. I had an agenda going into it. I'm not going to lie. And God was very kind and gracious and patient with me. So I ended up, over the years, again, doing 30-hour famine. We did that a number of years. And so I would get invited to other gatherings with World Vision. They would invite other pastors. And I got invited to this one gathering. It was in Washington, D.C. And I just had this kind of chance connection with the director. At the time, I think he was the director of church and, church relations or something like that. I can't even, at this point, I can't remember his name or remember his title, but I bumped into the guy, let's just say that, who was in the space that made sense for a pastor like me to be in at World Vision. It was like, I'm like, God, I'm kind of limited here. All I really know about is pastoral ministry, right? And so I bumped into that guy. We started talking. He said, "You're a pastor." I said, Yeah. Would you be interested in joining our team? I said, wow, that's okay. Maybe, so I went back and thought about it. World Vision is the largest Christian humanitarian organization in the world. We're the largest. So there was a part of me is like, this is a big organization. They're not going to talk to a little pastor like me. My church was like 300 people, like I don't lead a mega church. What kind of influence do I have? Right. And I'm thinking to myself, he's not going to call me. And this guy followed up. Wow. And he called me, and I think a couple months later, I had an offer. And, we just it was just kind of God kind of being faithful to that little deal that we made. and it came through, and I'm sitting here kind of going, are you sure? Wow. Okay. This works for me. But it's been such a good transition, and I think an important transition just in terms of me professionally, you could say spiritually, and just developing as a contributor to the planet and to society. I think it's been an important transition to make. Grateful for the work that I'm a part of and get to be a part of right now.
Now, I think a lot of people know about World Vision. They think about child sponsorship. So talk about that and then what other things World Vision does, and
Yeah.
including some of the things that you are responsible for bringing to fruition.
Sure. Yeah. Child sponsorship is kind of the core of what we are and what we do at World Vision. It's the way that we can fund the most vital work being done in the roughly 100 different countries that we operate in. What I'm tasked to do at World Vision is lead a team that is primarily inviting churches to partner with us and get children sponsored. And it's it's actually through a really beautiful ministry. I'll call it a movement as opposed to a program. This ministry movement is pretty profound in that historically, typically in the child sponsorship space, the donor is the one that gets to choose the child, right? So they would see a photo or a sponsorship packet. Sometimes it's in a large Christian concert venue at a stadium or arena or whatever, or in a local church. And so what God has sort of given us to innovate around and what we've been inspired to do is kind of flip that around. And rather than the donor getting to choose the child, the children get to choose their donor. And so we call it Chosen. And so my team, our primary focus is acquisition, child sponsorship acquisition through the means of this beautiful ministry called Chosen. So we invite churches, pastors, church leaders. We cast a vision around, hey, what would it look like if your church joined this movement called Chosen? Yeah. And we invited your people to submit to as the well-to-do, all-access Westerner that has more than what they know what to do with. What would it look like for you to allow a vulnerable child who generally doesn't have any choice or access, right? They take life as it comes to them. What would it look like for you to allow your congregation to submit to this process and let them be chosen? And so, yes, it's just a beautiful thing. And so that's what my team does. My team will go out, invite churches to do that. And then we're also responsible for making sure that those ministry events, those chosen Saturdays or Sundays go off really well. And so we're present at the events. I'm often present at the events. My team is speaking at the events. I'm speaking at the events. And we're just cultivating these relationships with pastors and local churches to make sure to see, if we can just empower as many kids as possible to choose, and it's just such a beautiful reversal of that whole dynamic. Again, you and I, we get so many choices. It's pretty ridiculous. Know?
Well, so I think one of the criticisms that I've heard through the years, like you mentioned at the concert, you're there to see, a Christian artist, and then an organization comes down and passes out all these pictures of the kids, and they look like they are in need. Yeah. Right. They look like they are from a vulnerable population. Yeah. And it's almost, the criticism is that it can feel like it's manipulation.
It's manipulation, yeah.
To pull on the heartstrings. And, we know as fundraisers that there is some of that has to happen, but it does feel, it can feel a little bit more manipulative to some people.
Be a little icky at times, yeah.
Yeah, like just... So I love that it's flipped like that.
Yeah.
So that now you are not, you're the one that's being chosen. I love that model. It takes away that potential criticism.
It does. And we've just seen when you just take it a layer deeper and just understand how it just affirms the dignity of that child, right? Because so often the false narrative that's out there is that if you're poor, if you have less, you are less, right? Yeah. And this helps us to affirm just that image of God in all people, whether they have much or they don't have much. And I think as beautiful as traditional child sponsorship is, you're right. We get to kind of avoid a little bit of this sense of, is this right that I should be choosing this? And then we get to kind of say, hey, it does feel really, it feels like this is the right thing to do when someone sees me and they get to choose me. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's what my team does. Yeah, that's the focus of my team. We cover everything in the East Coast, from the New England states all the way down as far south as South Florida, and then as far west as Alabama. So all kind of the east, southeast.
Let's pause here for a quick break. We'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by Efficient.app. Big shout out to Alex and Andra from Efficient.app for sponsoring the Holistic Productivity Podcast from the very beginning. We love that. When you are looking for new software, Efficient.app is the place to go. They have already done all the research for you, which saves you the headache of doing a trial of every single app you want to look at. They offer hundreds of product reviews and comparison videos that are informative and fun to watch. Want to hear how Motion stacks up against Monday.com or Asana or ClickUp? They have a review for that. Here's what I love. They promise no BS software reviews. They tell you exactly what they love and what they don't love. And best of all, they have negotiated special deals, discounts, or even extended trial periods for a bunch of different products. If you're going to look for software, do yourself a favor and let Efficient.app do the work for you. Click on the link in the show notes. That's the best way to get there, because you'll let them know that you appreciate them sponsoring the Holistic Productivity Podcast as well. Check them out, Efficient.app. The link in the show notes. You won't regret it. Talk about Team World Vision. I know you're going all over the world running in marathons. Talk about that process a little bit. Is this because you work at World Vision that you're like one of the runners for them? Can anybody be on Team World Vision? Talk about how that works, and then some of the marathons that you've run in. I mentioned you got London coming up next year.
Yeah, London coming up. So it's so much. It's just beautiful work. It's fun. Team World Vision was founded by, it kind of was inspired in the heart of a guy by the name of Michael Chitwood. About 15, 16, I can't even remember. It might be going on 17 years ago. And he wasn't a runner. In fact, he had been a football player. He was a big guy and never imagined himself being a runner. And God just kind of spoke into his heart one day after he had been invited to run a marathon, and he ran the thing, hated every minute of it. But God said, hey, maybe you could use this running as a mechanism to help bring clean water to places that don't have access to clean water. Yeah. And that kind of began to stir in him a bit, and he couldn't shake it loose. So he approached World Vision. World Vision said, that's an interesting idea. Why don't you go make it work, and then we might hire you. Something. It was something like that. Yeah. Well, it was something along those lines, and so he convinced World Vision somehow to kind of adopt this idea. Let's invite regular folk, not the runners necessarily. Most of the people that run a Team World Vision event aren't runners per se, but they get inspired by the idea that them stepping through the fear, of the idea of running 26.2 miles is a little bit daunting, or 13.1 miles, or for some people a 5K, right, or a 2K is pretty daunting. But can we step through the fear on behalf of someone else? If I can run and suffer through it, could I relieve the suffering of someone in another part of the world, right? And so that began to catch on, and we get in front of churches, and we basically kind of make that same appeal. You may not be a runner, but you don't have to be a runner. You just got to be somebody who says people in this world need access to clean water. And there's still like 800 million people that lack access to clean water. And if you could put one foot in front of the other, we're going to help you go from the couch to the finish line. We got training plans. We launch at churches. We get up in front. We just invite people to an info session after church, and and anyone can do it. You don't have to work for World Vision, right?
Yeah.
And we invite them to get behind the idea that they can help raise some funds. And in World Vision's development model, $50 provides clean, sustainable water for a very long time. And so when people, get one donation, it's changing a life. It's, one donation of $50. So that's how it happens. In the same way that we go into a church and we invite a church leader to host a chosen event, we'll invite a church to form a team and go run a local race in your city. Team World Vision doesn't exist in every market in the U.S. Some of our big markets are Chicago, so we do a lot of the Chicago. We do the Chicago Marathon. We do the New York City Marathon. We do a lot of the world majors: London, Berlin, Tokyo. London, Berlin, Tokyo. We do New York and Chicago. We're working on Sydney. We might be doing Sydney too. Sydney soon. And then, of course, Cape Town looks like it's going to come online as the next world major. But
wow,
it's a beautiful movement. We see a lot of transformation. One of the big things we talk about in the Team World Vision space is just this idea of transformation. What kind of transformational experience can we get? When you and your church community decide to form a team and set a big goal of fundraising, but then you start training together. So we host group runs in Chicago. You can run with other people. You're not running alone. And that just buoys you up. That just encourages your soul, right? When you sweat together and you run together. So it's so much fun, the relationships that get started. And we've seen marriages restored. We've seen people's health restored because they started running. Yeah. We've seen people come back to faith because they're doing this thing together. It's not even about the running as much as it is just the experience of getting to the start line together and just that transformation that takes place on the journey, right? They always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And it really is with Team World Vision.
There has to be a transformation that happens from going from couch to any distance, like you said, right? I mean, even a 5K for some people, that's going to be a transformation, but 26.2 is a big transformation.
It's huge. Yeah.
So you guys got the great jerseys and everything. I mean, can I get a jersey for running in my 10K? Or
absolutely, man.
If I raise enough money, right? That's the way that works.
Actually, the cool thing is you can just buy the jersey and not even run at all. So you just be a billboard for us. We don't care. Yeah. No.
Right.
But it's interesting. I think probably one of the outside of the notion of overcoming this idea that you can run 26.2 miles or 13.1 half marathon is the fundraising piece. People really get nervous about fundraising. You and I, fundraising probably comes fairly easy. It's just kind of the way we're wired. But in general, it's all peer to peer. So when you join a Team World Vision team, you're saying, hey, I'm going to commit to raising, $3,000, $5,000, $10, $25, $30, sometimes $50,000.
Yeah.
And that's a daunting thing. And generally we're not comfortable talking about money, right? Nobody likes to talk about money.
Right.
And I'm going to ask people to give. And so what's been fun is that transformation too, to see the kind of this boldness that begins to come out of people once they get turned on to the idea that every dollar I raise, is going to help a kid or help a community get this simple thing. I mean, we see it as simple, obviously, in our context, but clean water. People are going to get access, and it's going to help them wash their clothes, wash their bodies, wash their faces, not get sick. It's going to bring a whole new level of dignity to their very existence. And when people catch that vision, it's amazing how bold they get. They will ask people for money. They will they will do crazy things to get the attention of people on social media so that they give money. I mean, we've seen some cool things happen. And so over the last 15, 16, 17 years, Team World Vision has raised over $100 million for clean water. So it's been
That's
really
awesome.
powerful. Yeah, it's really powerful.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, my experience has been that people want to support you supporting others.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I did a thing. My friend works at a nonprofit that's doing a 5K.
Yeah.
And I raised money for them last month, ran at the beginning of this month. Again, it's not hard for me to ask, to make the ask. And I can craft the letter, the Facebook post, because I've done it for 25 years. But what people told me when I thanked them, they said, we want to support you supporting others. And that to me is better than anything else, because it's about that community. It's about everybody coming together. Yeah. And when $50, $100 does so much,
it does.
Each one of us can have an impact. And I love that about philanthropy, and especially the peer-to-peer side of fundraising.
You're absolutely right. I think, half the time, I don't think people really even know exactly what I'm doing. They just know that, hey, Bernie's into this thing.
Bernie's running again.
Yeah, it's going to help some kids. I'll support that. I'm with him. And that's great, and it does. And it can be, I have a donor. She's so consistent. She gives $20 every event that I do. And I see it come through and go, awesome. It's not the big gift, it's oftentimes it's the small to medium gifts from a lot of people. Then I have a couple of friends that'll drop 5,000, in one pop, and you kind of go, oh, wow. And you're grateful for that. But, it's everyone that kind of catches the vision and can drop it a little bit in.
Everyone doing their part. Yeah. I love that. So I mentioned at the beginning, you run and operate Higher Ground Treks. Talk to us about that. Where did that come from? What was the evolution of that? And how can people get involved in that?
For sure. Yeah. So part of it, I would say, is kind of somewhat inspired by the visions around Team World Vision. But this was actually born in my own mind and heart prior to joining World Vision. But I've always appreciated the kind of a group experience, group travel, group adventure. There's something in the dynamic of a team or a group that I think just helps us all get better and just bonds people in a really powerful way. So I started going to Tanzania back in about 2000, and I think my first trip was 2009 or 2010. And I was going on these medical mission trips with physicians from the church that I pastored, and we would always drive by Mount Kilimanjaro. And I don't know that I actually fully grasped that. I mean, I'd heard of Mount Kilimanjaro, but didn't really know a whole lot about it. And then as we, year after year, been 2 or 3 years, we kept passing by. I was like, do people climb that? People probably climb that, don't they? And I don't know what happened, but I kind of got this notion that, hey, that'd be really cool to climb. So I started doing a little research, and I learned that it's not a technical climb. It's not like you got to have all the ropes and all that sort of thing. Because in my mind, I'm thinking Everest, man. You're going to get up there, and you're going to have ice picks and all this sort of thing. You could die. I don't want to die on a mountain. I just, and I just want to climb the thing. And so I said, well, hey, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to just come back to climb. I'm not going to come back on a medical mission trip. That's all good. I'll continue to do that, but I don't want to do that and have to climb, because that would really be draining. But I just want to come and climb. So I rounded up a number of friends. I just kind of invited some people. I put it out there, I think even on social media, and had about 6-7 guys respond. And we went, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just read everything I could, try to understand what it was going to be like. Learned that it's actually more of a trek or a hike versus hardcore technical climbing. And so we did it, and that first one was brutal. But what was really powerful was my theorizing around the power of the kind of the group and being together and struggling together and moving to achieve a goal together was really powerful. And that we were all from we were all kind of casually connected prior to the trip, but we got so much closer on the trip.
Sure.
And we learned so much about each other. We saw each other in these different ways. And I had people that were going through some tough times. I had a guy that was, his marriage was coming to an end. And I saw him break down and weep, on the trip. And we kind of got inside of his life a little bit more and could encourage him, we could help him kind of process some of that. And I also saw him come alive on that mountain, as well.
Yeah.
And that just sort of, that first one, though at the end of that one, it was so hard. I said, I'm never coming back to this mountain ever again. I'm never doing this. So never say never.
Never say never, right?
Never say never. And so I came back down the mountain. It was the most, and this is at a point after I probably run 5-6 marathons at this point in my life, right? The first time I climbed it. I came off that mountain and said, that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's harder than a marathon by far. And so I said, yeah, we're not doing this again. This is a one-time deal. And yet at the same time, something in me said, this is an experience that has really done something in the people that you're with. And we're forever bonded. And that's something valuable and powerful.
Yeah.
But then post-pandemic, something kind of said, what if we could get people are itching, people need something after this pandemic, after this craziness, with this whole thing. Let me just put it out there and see who will respond to go and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I had 35 people. Respond. I think I was at 32 people literally sent me money. It was the craziest thing, Chris. I would get, so I just put it out there and I said, Venmo me $500. That's your deposit and you're in. I get random $500 from, I had no idea who the people were. They're just sending me money. Literally. They're like, hey, my friend said we're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro on these days and I want in. Here's my $500. Like, okay, yeah, you're in.
It's a good thing you're an honest guy, right?
No, people are so trusting.
Yeah,
I think they did know that I was a pastor, so they were
right.
They were kind of going, man, maybe he's on the up and up, but you never know. But it was so amazing. In fact, it was kind of funny because I have some running friends. We do a lot of running and marathons and things together. And a lot of them are female. And so they caught wind of it. And they were some of the first ones to sign up. So like the first 8-9 people to sign up were women. And I'm going to my wife going, honey, I got this climb up Kilimanjaro with a whole bunch of women. Are you going to be okay with that? So,
smart man.
Yeah. So we had to recruit some guys and then the guys got on and I think we ended up about 50-50, but it was a phenomenal trek. We ended up with a total of 29 of us on the mountain. Wow. And that's just those of us Westerners coming to climb.
Right.
But then you got to have your porters and your guides, your cooks on the mountain, all your support staff on the mountain. We had 135 people all together on the mountain. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful movement. Not one person got sick. We all made it to the summit. We all made it back down. And we all, it was just the coolest thing. And, you get that many people together, you're like, something's not going to click right. There's going to be some, I was
personalities.
Blown away. Yeah. I was blown away. Everybody was so amazing. To this day, I'm still like in awe of how well that operation went. It was just really, really, really cool. It was, at the end of the day, it was a blessing to the mountain staff because they, when COVID hit, they weren't climbing. They were, so we brought that many people. We tipped them well. We blessed them with some of the gear that people left behind. And so, it was just a really cool experience. So that's how, out of that came higher ground treks and safaris. And I said, well, I got to do this as much as possible now because just beautiful, beautiful things happen when we go on a mountain together. We trek for, and ever since then, we've just had these wonderful moments of relationship and community and celebration and all these adventures together. So yeah, we do Peru Trek now. We're looking at a whole bunch of other things. There's just, I got a full-time job too, so it gets a little hard.
Well, but that's you are following those purpose-driven things that has been put on your heart, that I think God has put on your heart,
right.
To do and to serve others. That's what we talk about with holistic productivity. It's not just fulfilling what you have in your professional world that brings success and fulfillment. It's really doing all of those other things.
Right.
And I think that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show to talk about
cool.
to talk about those things. So I've led groups in many capacities.
Right.
I've led groups in other countries on more touristy things than Kilimanjaro. But what is that like, knowing that you have 29 people from the States and then 130 something people in total that you're leading up the highest peak in Africa, one of the 7 summits, 19,000 feet. How do you deal with that? And what are the emotions that you feel? Are you even able to enjoy the success of the climb when you're dealing with all those things?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so it's actually, Kilimanjaro is the highest freestanding mountain in the world at 19,341 feet. And it's when you're taking that many people, even if you're taking a smaller group, at some level you're just always on.
Yeah.
And so for me, as I think about it as a leader, I know I'm on, but how can I leverage the talents and the gifts of other people on these trips? Because everyone has some leadership in them, but I need to channel that to help me, right? Because I still got a lot to do here, and I want everyone to get to the top. I'm thinking about multiple things, but I need everybody to kind of stay on task. And so I am I'm constantly communicating. I think that's critical for us to do, is just very good, constant communication. And what I've learned about human beings, Chris, is they are incredibly forgetful.
Yes.
Maybe put that another way. They're not really talented at listening a lot of times, right? So
what was that?
What was that? So you have to repeat things, or you have to say things differently, or you have to leverage the influence of another leader in your group and let them say it. And as they say it, they help get everybody back on track again. So what I'm doing, I'm kind of scanning the group, saying that person, when they say it, people will listen. So I need them on my team. I need them on my side. So I'm trying to help them help me keep this expedition in a very positive way, in a way that's going to be very inclusive of everybody, because everybody arrives with just who they are. There's different body sizes. There's people with different, some have trained and just gone really serious. They've read and watched all the YouTube videos. They've read all the stuff. They're asking me all these technical questions. I'm like, just relax. You're going to be fine. Just walk up the mountain. It's not that hard.
And somebody's carrying your stuff.
Yes, people are carrying your stuff. Relax. What are you talking about? If you can let them carry all your stuff, it's okay. They would probably even carry you if but then you have people that are kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And I started training, but this happened in life. And so I'm hoping I got, so you're trying to help that person too.
Right.
And so I'm just constantly communicating, but at the same time, bringing this group of lots of different people and personalities together, keeping it positive, constantly informing so that they stay on track. And that's exhausting. In fact, with the group in 2022, the second day on the trek, I kind of hit a wall. I was just tired, because coordinating adults, it's one thing to coordinate children, right?
Right.
It's another thing to coordinate adults.
Yeah.
And so I kind of hit the wall, and I said, guys, I'm struggling here. And the cool thing about that trip is about half of the group were medical personnel. So as soon as I let them know, I signaled that I was in a little bit of trouble. They're like, "Oh, we got you, man. What do you need?" They're pulling out pills. They got all kinds of, "Here, Bernie, take this and go lay down. Yeah, you'll be good." It's like, okay, whatever. And sure enough, I got a little sleep, I think I got a little prednisone or some kind of steroid in me, and I was perky and ready to go the rest of the way. But leading is just exhausting in that context. But I think you can do it if, what's the saying? The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And what I know I want to do is I want people to have a really, really wonderful experience of walking from point A to point B. And I want them to be successful. I want them to make it to the top so that they have that life moment and that sense of achievement. And I want them not to have to worry about it along the way. So I'm trying to take all the worry out of it. So I've got this big team of porters. They're going to carry your stuff. Don't worry about it. If you get tired, guess what? You can just kind of walk slower. You don't have to go real fast. You're on a mountain in Africa. Live in this moment. Embrace it. Because I, in general, I guarantee you don't want to come back and do this. You're just going to do this once. So we're going to make it count. We're going to do this really good. You're going to have a wonderful experience. You're going to have some stories to tell and some pictures to share. And that's kind of what I try to keep people on track of. And, we've been pretty successful at getting people to the goal and them having a pretty pleasant experience to do it. So.
Well, like I said,
you're going to go do that too.
I'm going to go. I'm going to be on that trip when the moment is right.
The moment is right.
When's your next trip coming up?
September. We have one coming up in just a very short time. We got 7 days on the Machami route. But yeah, that's our next one. Then we're not going to go again until I want to do an 8-day Lemosho route. So planning towards that in 2026. Might be 2027. I'm sorry.
That's the one I'm on.
That's the one.
That's the one I'm saying it right now.
All right.
That's
Boom.
the one that I'm going to be.
Boom. There you go. I got a spot for you, man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears here a little bit and talk about breaking the silence.
Yeah.
You wrote this book in 2007.
Yeah.
It's not an easy topic.
No.
It's about pornography and sexual addiction.
Yeah.
You wrote that. You were married. You had your kids. You were a pastor. Talk about the decision to write such a personal account of your struggles and what went into that decision.
Yeah. I've joked with people over the years here, and I had one church leader that joked with me. He said, "You're either a little crazy or you're just really sincere," or something like that. He said, so probably a little bit of both, my friend. But, yeah, no question. It's a very challenging and difficult conversation to have and to just sort of put out there about your life and who you are and kind of the dark places that you've been. But I was really, for lack of a better way to put it, the responsibility to help others avoid the same pain. I just sense that it's so taboo to talk about that nobody's talking about it. And one of the most significant way that I found to get out of it was to talk about it, was to sort of shed light in a dark place. And so I said, well, I just gotta pull the covers off of this thing in as big a way as possible. And maybe it just means that I talk about it from my own life. And if that'll help others avoid the same pain, or at least get some insight on what they're walking through so that they can begin to find a better way to live, then I'm willing to take that hit. In fact, as a pastor, I'm called to serve people and to help them get to a place of better spiritual connection. If this is hindering their spiritual growth and development, and I can do something potentially to help them break free, then I need to do that. But it wasn't the easiest thing, obviously, and it's not just about me. It's about my wife and my family, and this is kind of our story. It's not just my story. So I did feel a sense of responsibility to make sure that I kind of had her buy-in and permission. This is a very personal, private part of our life. Do I share this, honey? And so every step along the way, I kept getting the head nod of yes, even maybe sometimes reluctantly, but she, my wife was all in, and there's another part of me that wanted to agitate things too, because I just really sometimes feel like the church doesn't want to have hard conversations, and it's some of those hard conversations that can really help people live better and live more authentically, because you've been around the church, if you will, and when I say church, I mean church universal. You've been around the church a long time, and it's a place where you can be very pretentious, and it's okay. It's kind of like no one has to really bring their authentic selves here, and I just said, no, we got to get real, because it's out of that authenticity that I think people get better, live better, get healthier, and really, really live out their faith in such a way that's way more meaningful than kind of hiding some of these things that we don't want to talk about. But,
well, I don't know. I don't care what the problem is,
right.
whatever the challenge is, you can't fix it if you don't talk about it. And that is in business, that is in your personal life, your relationships with your spouse.
Totally.
Whatever the situation is, if you're not talking about it, there's no solution that's going to come forward. Yep. And I think you're right. We do have this idea sometimes that, I don't want my church friends to know what I'm struggling with,
right?
Because that takes away the idea that I
kind of got it together. Right?
Yeah. When nobody has it together, and we all have something that we're struggling with,
right?
So I think it's a very important specific conversation to have, but I think also the greater philosophy of what you wanted to do and bring things out into the open so we could talk about them.
Yeah.
What was the response from your colleagues, from your parishioners, from friends like me that went to college with you years before? I mean, what does the response like that come back? And don't use any names. Don't name names.
That's so funny. Amazingly, Chris, there was a lot of positive. It was, I would say it was 98% positive. It really was. There were people, sort of, it's almost kind of like they wanted to kind of go there with me and talk about it, but they weren't sure if they should talk about it. So
right.
When I was around people, it was a little awkward at first. It's okay. We can talk about it. I don't, I've already talked about it. It's on TV.
It's published.
It's out there. Yeah. I mean, so, but once we went there, and it was just kind of like, thank you. And there are always a handful of negative people, and I just didn't really focus on them. I had one lady wrote me kind of a funny note because my story got published in Newsweek magazine, and she said, "Didn't you know that Newsweek magazine goes all over the world?" I was like, "Yeah, that was kind of the point." I was like, I wanted the story to get out. I mean, everybody's kind of like, I think there was a sense that, well, you should probably keep this very private. It's like, no. That's the point, is to break it open. We want this to be known and revealed, because if I can do it, and what's really been powerful is to see, like, it's kind of like broken people attract other broken people. So, and that's kind of what we need. We need people to kind of come out and say, "Oh yeah, you don't have to get it. Oh, I don't really either." And we can. There's more acceptance, and there's more. I think we all are just better off not making assumptions about how well you're doing or not doing. And so, but very positive, lots of people who would begin then to open up, not about that issue, but just about, well, hey, I struggled with this. This has been my journey. And once you get into people's stories and their lives a bit, that's where real transformation, I really think, can take place, and that's where people begin to get better. I think they get well, because we hang on to a lot of stuff, and we pretend, and we feel like, especially in a church space, we pretend, we think that we have to kind of have it all together. And as a pastor who came out and said, hey, I don't have it all together, and in fact, I haven't had it together for a long time. You guys have all been buying into this facade, right? Then that's kind of empowering to people to go, well, if God can work with that guy, then maybe he can work with me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not lost on me that 2007 was a big year, because that's when the iPhone came out.
Yeah.
Social media was around before that a little bit, but it didn't really take off until 2007. Twitter came out in 2007. There was this huge influx of things that were happening in the world in 2007. And I wonder how much more relevant would your book, your conversation be today than it was in 2007, now that we have access 24/7 in the palm of our hands to a whole litany of pornography and all sorts of things.
Yeah, no question. And what's been fascinating, Chris, is I'm on year 20, about 21, I think, right now, of kind of this journey of just coming to. So sobriety in 2003 is kind of when the journey of sobriety began. And now 2025, I went to seminary, so I don't do math really well, but whatever that is, whatever that is. But what's been fascinating is that I still get invited into spaces to tell this story, because like you said, technology has evolved. The issue is more prevalent now. There are lots more conversations in the media about this stuff now. So this story just won't die. And if you got somebody like me that's crazy enough to go into a church or religious space and talk about it, people are like, hey, will you come over here and help us have this conversation too? And so that's really what I see my calling to be in this particular little topic genre is. I just need to go into a space and say, hey guys, this is so great. I love you. Let's talk about pornography, right? It's like, they're like, who is this guy? Why did we invite him? But by the end of it, I think I've been able to tell the story in such a way that people just kind of come to this space of, this isn't so bad. We can have this conversation. This is good. This is important. I'm going to talk about this. That's kind of been my whole goal with it now, is I just kind of break the ice, and I'm like, guys, it's okay. We can have this conversation. And so, it's been an interesting journey, but you're right. It's certainly evolved over the years. It's more prevalent than ever before. You have states now that are requiring verifications to access sites. So it's all over. It's in our culture. But it is an intentional conversation that people have to have if they want to do something about it. It's not just, this thing, but because it's out there, and your kids are being exposed to it. So.
Yeah. And as a father of two boys in their early 20s, who have had phones, who have had devices, it's something that's weighed on us as parents. How do we counsel them in the right way? And so I think, again, it's a very important conversation. I'm glad that you were willing to step out and have that. I'm sure it was not easy, but again, I think the more of us that have these conversations, or the more often that we have them, whether it's pornography, whether it's drugs, whether it's anything
prescription
that
drugs
people struggle with. I think the more that we have those and make them commonplace or just, easy to have, that is a good thing.
Easy to have. I like that. Yeah. I mean, I challenge pastors all the time when I'm invited to talk to a group of pastors. How do you create these spaces where it's easy just to, create a culture in your church where it's easy to have hard conversations, where it's not abnormal or icky or weird to talk about difficult things, because where we can shine a light, where we can, pull things out from under the dark covers that they often get covered up with, we can find people can get free. They can begin a path towards recovery, whatever the situation is. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. We talked about several things tonight. Which is harder in your mind, running the marathons, summiting Kilimanjaro, battling addiction? Is there any way to compare the three? And are there any lessons that you've learned from either of those that you can just bring forward into your everyday life?
Wow. Probably the one common thread between those goals or those things is the notion of fear, right? It's like the fear thing. I think I even write in my book that fear is so powerful, and it will prevent you from going and attempting or doing anything. So whether it's, if it's climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, the fear is, will I make it? Will I have the physical stamina or capacity to make it all the way to the top, right? If it's a marathon, will I have the stamina, the physical stamina? Can I do it, or am I going to fall in a heap, along the way? If it's addiction, can I get free of this thing, and not just get free, but stay free? So there's always this kind of fear that can really undermine all that you do. And I think the hardest thing is believing something different. And it's, the fear is always going to be there, but do I believe that there's something better for me on the other side? And I had to get there. That's where I had to get to. I had to get to a place where I said, this is not what I'm meant for. This is not what life is meant to be. I'm positive of that. And so I don't know what's on the other side, but it has to be better than this. So I'm gonna take my chances on this other thing. And so for me, especially when it came to the addiction part, was I got to talk to somebody. I got to tell somebody. I recognize there's a problem, but that's the first step. The next biggest step is just a level of disclosure and confession, if you will, and putting it out there. And then something triggers. And you're like, wow, I just summited that mountain. I can do this thing. That was huge. And I just finished 10 miles. Shoot, 10? I got another 16. I can pull this off, So I think it is that, man, if you can get past that fear, and even if you have a setback, right? Because it's not once you decide and once you're following the path, that doesn't mean it's all, just, easy going. You're still going to have the struggle and the setback. Yeah. But you're believing, or you're starting to believe something different about your life, and that there could be something different because you had a little bit of peak. You got a little breakthrough. You said, okay, yeah, there's something there. So I'm going to keep doing this. I know I kind of screwed up here, but I'm going to get back on the path and keep going. So, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, no, that was great. It was beautiful. Bernie, thank you so much for being here. I end every show with the questions.
The questions.
These are the questions. Yeah, inspired by James Lipton, host of Inside the Actors Studio.
Love it.
A great show. But we're just going to ask these rapid fire. You can take as much or as little time as you want with them.
Cool.
But what motivates you?
Being a part of something that's bigger than me. That's really motivating.
What discourages you?
Apathy. When people just don't care. When the people around me don't care.
One word that describes you at your best.
Energizing. I think I can.
Energizing.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's my bad. I stepped on you.
No,
One word that describes you at your worst.
de-energizing. Bringing the whole room down, buddy.
Other than family or work, what gives you purpose?
Running.
Yes, that makes sense. What guilty pleasure brings you joy?
Just love eating and talking over good food with family and friends.
Mm-hmm. How do you celebrate a win?
Probably a really good dessert.
How do you bounce back after a loss?
Oh, that involves probably a good run.
Who was the last person you expressed gratitude towards?
My wife, because I was gone for 14 days on a trip in another country. And I said, honey, thank you.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 25-year-old self?
Start saving money now. Don't spend a dime.
Yes, heard that. No, seriously, Bernie, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I love talking with you. Love the insight that you bring, and I know that it will be beneficial for the listeners. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. It's been great. Appreciate it. Glad you're doing the podcast and contributing to the world in this really good way. It's good stuff, man. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Well, that's it for the show today. Thank you so much for being here. Check out the show notes. They are at wholisticproductivity.com. And again, I will have links for Bernie there. You can connect with him, links for the book, links for his fundraising for the London Marathon, for Higher Ground Treks. So make sure you check all of those out and connect with him. If you have not subscribed to the show, if you've not favorited it, if you've not liked it, make sure you do that on whatever platform you are listening. We are on all the major podcast platforms, so you can find us there, and you will always get the next interview, the next show that we have. They come out every Tuesday, so make sure you subscribe, like, follow, ring the bell, all the things. And if you want to watch, you can do that on YouTube as well. So again, we'll have another episode on Tuesday. I know you're going to love that as well. Stay tuned. Check that out. If you like the show, if you've enjoyed the conversation we've had with Bernie today, give 5 stars when you review the show, when you rate it. We'd love to see that. And follow on all the social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn. I'm on Substack now, and also on YouTube at Wholistic Productivity. So a lot of great productivity tips, motivation, great things happening on social media as well. On my channel, other stuff, not so good, but on my channel, it's all good. Again, thank you so much for listening in. My goal with this, the reason that I do this show, is to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Take care. Before I sign off, close your eyes for a minute, unless you're driving. But close your eyes and imagine this. It's Friday. You're excited for the weekend. TGIF, right? You're wrapping up the work week, getting ready to leave the office. But as you're walking out the door, you start to reflect on the week and you say, what did I even accomplish this week? It's a frustrating feeling and a horrible way to start your weekend. You know that you've worked hard all week, but you have little or nothing to show for it. If you've ever had these feelings at the end of your week, I have a special offer for you to help you on your productivity journey. I talk about it all the time. Being intentional with your time is one of the biggest parts of productivity. And one of the best ways you can be intentional is to plan your week. Planning your week provides clarity on your priorities. It eliminates confusion about what needs to be done, and it sets you on a path for success. Now, I've developed the perfect tool to help you plan your week. I call it my Sunday strategy, and I want to give you my Sunday strategy worksheet and guide absolutely free when you sign up for my weekly newsletter. The guide offers clear strategies for using the principles of holistic productivity to plan your week. You'll have a mindset shift away from the toxic aspects of productivity, and you'll get step-by-step directions for using the Sunday strategy worksheet. With my Sunday strategy, you only need 15 minutes each Sunday to plan out your entire week. It'll let you identify major projects and tasks that are coming up, assign those projects to specific days, and best of all, there are different sections for each area of your life: professional, personal, and purpose-driven, so you can reach all of your goals. My Sunday strategy worksheet also includes a weekly habit tracker to keep you focused on the habits that you want to develop. So if you want to avoid those Friday feelings of frustration and despair, you need my Sunday strategy worksheet. It's the perfect planning tool to help you build the winning strategy for your week. It's a resource you can come back to each day to keep you focused on reaching your goals, and it's an accountability tool to help you track your progress. Basically, it can help you have the most productive week ever. Like I said, it is completely free when you sign up for my weekly newsletter, which also features more strategies and tips to help you dream big, plan smart, and live fully. To get my Sunday strategy worksheet and guide, go to mysundaystrategy.com and sign up. That's mysundaystrategy.com. There will also be a link in the show notes, but again, mysundaystrategy.com. Look forward to having you back here for the next episode of the Wholistic Productivity Podcast.